Good morning. It's Friday, June 6th, 2025. This is the Public Broadband Committee for the town of Dryden. This is the first of two meetings this month. This first meeting is where we look at what happened last month, in the month of May of 2025. I've asked each of the teams and departments within the project to put together a slide of what, or multiple slides in some cases, about what they worked on and what the month looked like in May. And then I put together a brief executive summary for a couple slides um, that will talk about kind of an overview. Pay attention to the entire presentation, but especially this first 5 minutes as we talk about high level what the month looked like. There we go. All right, so like many months, May was a busy month. A lot of stuff happened in the project regarding our MIP funding. This is the $8.9 million project grant on a $9.9 million project that we applied for in March and April of last year, negotiated with New York State about the actual project in April, May, and June, and agreed to terms right around June. Actually, I think it was this Friday a year ago. They awarded us the grant. It's a reimbursable grant, which means we have to do the work, spend the money, pay the bills, and then submit the invoices plus the milestones that we've achieved those for each period of time. And they would pay us over 4 different tranches over the next 2 years. So a lot of the time of this month was focused on that. We also did some construction and some installations and a few other things. So as of today, or as of, I guess, June 1st, we have 402 paying customers. It's a huge achievement. Now we are at over 400 paying customers. There were 22 new customers in the month of May. We had 22 inbound requests. I think of those 22, I'll look at it's later in the deck. I think 15 of those 22 were in the green zone. So people who are requesting service is not as many, but they are much higher percentage are in the green zone at this point. 1 year ago, we had that outage right before Memorial Day, and it was out for 2.5 days. We fixed the network so that won't happen again. That was where we lost Windstream for 4 days. And in that time, we were able to cut over to our first light connection. Fortunately for us, not for these customers necessarily, but we only had 40 customers at that point in time. And now 1 year later, we have over 400. Huge growth year for us. A year earlier, when Jason and Dan asked me to come on to help out with the project, we had 6 customers. So pretty substantial growth over the last 2 years, especially in the last 12 months. Congratulations everyone on the committee, the project team, installations, town board for getting this thing started. 400 people trust us with their internet. We are their utility for internet connection for broadband. And that's because of the work that you guys have done over the last 6 months, 12 months, the last 2 years, 5 years, and longer in some cases to get us here. And as we've said, we're not stopping until every single household in Dryden and Caroline has access to broadband internet, ideally, through Dryden Fiber, so we can provide service to every single household. It's around 18,000 people between the two towns and about 7,200 or so households. So we're not there yet. We're on our way. Construction updates. This is on both slides. First is that we did add 75 new green zone locations. There's also some fixes that was done. Brad from Vantage will talk about this a little bit more in the construction update. Regarding the MIP program, we are still waiting on final locations list and budget. A couple key things to know about is the original budget missed building a network to reach a number of houses across both towns, mostly in Caroline, but I think a few in Dryden too. We have increased our budget request for the total project to 12.6 million from the original 9.9 million. And we've increased the grant portion of that, I believe, to 11.3 million. We actually, I feel pretty good about this request to reach all the houses across both towns that are unserved or underserved, as far as the FCC defines those. It feels like they might grant us this additional increase in funding. They have committed to telling us by Friday the 13th. Now, they've also committed to telling us by June 3rd. So on June 3rd, they said, we still need more information. We're not quite there. Um, as of today, as of Tuesday, and as of today, the timeline looks like uh, Friday the 13th, they'll have an answer to us next Friday.
Now, Dave, does that include the removal, 12.6? Does that include the removal of the rather bizarre locations that we didn't think need to really get served? Or does that for all those locations, including even the towers and things like that? Or is it?
Yeah, so this is in the most ideal situation, which is we reach all the ones that we want to reach that don't have fiber, and we don't have to reach the places that are non-BSLs that should not need broadband service, or in just, I think, one particular case, but where they already have fiber from another provider that would be very expensive to reach. It's really down to like one or two of the 2,700 plus locations. We're down to like one or two locations, and then the funding increase to reach everything else.
Mhm.
No, Tony's here too. Hi, Tony. Um, like I said, I feel good about it. By the time we report to the town board on June 19th, um, we might know. Let me just pause for a second. Jason, is there a town board meeting on Juneteenth?
Yeah, we had scheduled 2 public hearings already without even thinking about it. So yeah, there is a meeting on the 19th. It's
It is a federal holiday, but we will have a town board meeting that
yeah,
I'll present there. Okay.
yeah. It would just be too difficult. Like rescheduling it was going to be too difficult.
Okay. And because of the increase of 75 new green zone locations, we are now at 1,807 parcels in the town of Dryden, over 30% of the town. We were at 29.6 for a few months. Now over 30%.
Dave, can I just ask, is that now reflected on the maps these days? Because I know there was a gap last time they hadn't gotten to updating that the public map.
Yeah, there's a couple items left on the public map that are little yellow single parcel islands. We're trying to get those fixed. Once those are ready to go, with an answer, either we can service them or we can't. If we can, we should make them green. Then we'll take the pictures and post them on our email newsletter, as well as Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram.
Okay, so the public map is
Most of
pretty
them
much
have
up
already
to
been
date.
added. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Most of
so-
them have already been added, haven't they, Dave?
Yeah, the update, this says 75. I think there were 81 originally, which
Yeah.
were 6 locations on Oak Brook Drive in Varna. We took those off because we don't have a way to reach them yet. But then there are additional
Right.
2 addresses, one on Scenic Way in the Yellow Barn, Ferguson neighborhood, and one on West Dryden Road, right near where the creek passes on West Dryden, not West Dryden, West Main Street, near Hilton and Goodrich. Once we take care of those 2 parcels, we'll push out the updates a little bit wider. But yeah, we're over 1,800 parcels now.
Mhm.
HR, we hired a part-time accounting clerk. We talked about this last couple months ago to help Amanda. They will start on Monday, June 9th. We also have a job for part-time marketing for some door-to-door work, sign management, help out with events. I think we planned on this to being like a 10 to 20 hour a week, focus in the summertime, do some door-to-door, and just make sure people know that we're here across those 1,800 locations. We'll be focusing on the more densely populated areas. And then DigSafe, right now we are using a combined efforts of the town DPW and Rick Young and Sean, the team from Syracuse Utilities for DigSafe. We're trying to find a vendor. We found one that is in Lansing who could do the work, and we're just getting closer to terms on what that would look like for hiring them. Construction, a little bit more detail. We're now on Route 366 between Turkey Hill Road on the south side of Route 366, all the way to Utility Drive, which includes the gas station and the HEP. Also West Main Street and Springhouse. That finishes the western edge of the village. And then, as I said, Scenic Way and Chelsea Circle, which finishes almost all of Yellow Barn, with just Bear Circle and a little bit of Yellow Barn remaining, north of Ferguson and south of where it hits Spring Run, is what's left in the Yellow Barn neighborhood. Any questions on HR, hiring, or construction?
Are we fully getting into construction yet? Are we still planning?
We're still
what we're
working.
gonna
We're
be
still working through the
doing?
planning. Brad's here. He'll give an update when we get to his slides.
Oh, okay, great,
Yeah.
perfect.
We did send a proposal to be the bulk rate provider for an INHS project in Varna. This is at the intersection of Mount Pleasant Road, Fries Road, where they come together at Route 366. It's 3 buildings. 2 buildings are 8 units each. The third building is a 37 unit apartment building. We would be the automatic provider in every unit and offering our silver tier service for a flat rate to INHS that they would then give to all their tenants. If the individual tenants decide they want to upgrade to gold or platinum, then they would become individual customers of Dryden Fiber. Right now, we're definitely a finalist with Spectrum. The current grant application or the funding provider has requested that coax be put in every unit for cable TV access. INHS emailed me this morning. They're trying to figure out if this is a case of prescription to solve a problem versus solving the actual problem. So the goal ultimately is that every unit has access to TV.
Right.
And they're being the funder, from what we can tell, is being very prescriptive, saying it has to be through coax cable, where that might just be because they've always done that. Based on the article that we published back in February on our website and some other communication that Tony provided, they found that really useful. So thanks for sending it over, Tony. Regarding how Cornell handles residential cable TV, internet. They're trying to find out from their funder if they're trying to solve the problem of providing TV service to these units, or if the problem that needs to be solved is actually having a coax cable in each unit.
Right.
Technology-wise, we could bring fiber to the utility rooms and then use devices to push the internet through coax. Coax does have a lower ceiling.
Yeah.
For speed, especially for upload speed. It's not meant to be used for upload. We could do that if that was became a firm requirement. But INHS is really going to bat to say it's 2025. Fiber is the way to go. Can we solve the problem and not use the prescriptive method to
Right.
provide a hardware that doesn't really make sense for what the need actually is?
And you could actually lay coax in there and then and we still run fiber.
We could do both.
And then they could just leave the coax and whoever wants to connect up to that, connect up to it.
Yeah,
I really don't think we should be doing that, but
no, we wouldn't be doing that. We would only go to the utility room, and then they would run the Cat 6 and or coax from there to the individual units. We're getting close. They seem to their head of IT, who's helping to organize this project for INHS, was out this week. So they asked some questions, we get some answers, and they were like, well, they're not here to take those answers. They definitely like our consultative approach to helping out with what will solve the problems for the tenants versus just plugging in solutions to around not talking about what the problems actually are.
So each unit would be a subscriber though, correct? Not just the project? How does that work?
Each of the 53 units would have a silver tier service provided to them. INHS would pay us one single payment, 53 units times $20 per month per unit, and everyone gets that base level who's in this housing project. If any of the individuals did decide they want to upgrade from that silver tier to gold or platinum, then they become an individual customer of ours. We would still keep charging INHS the flat rate of $20 per month for the 53 units. And as we talked about at the town board level and at this committee last time we met, we would not charge the full rate of the gold and platinum tier because they're already being subsidized by $20. So we have a different rate for them.
And have we got prospective equipment for doing this, or is that being engineered at all, or just envisioned?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Next, we are spending groundbreaking in the town of Caroline right now for October 1st. So between now and then, there is a lot of work being done on design, permitting, electrical make ready. But for us, construction would be putting fiber on poles or digging ground or digging conduit, doing underground work, or even groundbreaking for the hut at the Caroline Town Hall. Go ahead.
Right. Sorry, I want to go back to construction updates. Sorry, my microphone wasn't working. That's why I dropped off and came back on because I was trying to say something, but well, you weren't hearing me. So with the construction updates, do we have any information or documentation on like what's coming next? Because, well, call me selfish, but Hanford was listed along with Bear Circle and other areas, and I haven't seen anything listed on it. And Hanford was started, but kind of sitting in limbo. And
I can talk to that now, but Brad has his slides coming up. We'll talk to those.
Okay, all right, that's fine. If it's going to come up, that's what I'm kind of curious about is and it's not just Hanford, but there's other areas that were sort of on the list, and then we switched, and then there was the stoppage, and then everything started back up. So it's where is all that stuff that was on the list before this construction stopped? Where
we'll talk to that shortly.
Okay, all right.
Finally, we will be participating in Dairy Day Parade. It's coming up on June 14th, so next Saturday morning. I'll talk about that in the marketing section. So a lot of planning, a lot of work in the month, and it doesn't end when the month ends. We just continue full speed ahead into June. As far as our goals for the year, as of 6/1, we have 402 customers on the platform. If we did get up to 65 customers, which was our goal per month, we would be at 857 for the year, which is definitely lower by 160 from the initial goal of 1,017. It'll be greatly dependent on, as Tony mentioned, getting more construction happening. We just know that for every 10 green zone parcels that we light up, we probably have 2 of them already signed up in advance, and like another one signs up after that. So we're getting around that 30% take rate or so. I think of this 75 or so that we just signed up, that we just launched, I think 15 or 18 had already signed up. So right around that 20%. The more green zone we add, the easier it will be to hit this goal. We're looking to hire that other marketing person for door-to-door and sign work, as well as some other digital media to try to get those people who are in that 1,800 people who are already in the green zone to get them going and get them signed up. We talked quite a bit about MIP. This is the original map from a year ago when we had our press conference or the kickoff. The dots that we didn't realize were that important, although we should have, compared to the proposed network in red, are these little dots down here at the bottom of the border of the town of Caroline. There's a few here. There's one over here. These are like the final pieces of the puzzle, is reaching these and getting funding to reach these, as well as a number of other dots throughout Caroline that in the updated proposed network were not included in design. So Vantage came through and said, well, how would we reach all these dots that are all over Dryden, Caroline, that are not close to the proposed or existing network? And from there, that's why we've gone back to New York State and said we need more money. As I said, we're getting close. Hopefully by next Friday, we have an answer from them on reaching all these dots and or receiving more funding to reach them. This is our MIP scoreboard for June. We got 19 months left to go, so we're now a third of the way through the 30 months. It's coming fast, but we're not done yet. We have time left on the clock. We do have this construction season, and then all of next year too. So we're doing pretty good. We do have some parts we've already reached of the goal. Some of the other numbers we're not quite up to date on regarding miles completed. Some of these there's a little tilde here because we're not quite sure of how many miles we're going to build because we don't know the funding yet and the requirements of the GDA. All those will come together. Once we sign the GDA, this screen will be a lot more clear and accurate to the goal numbers. All right, let's go to team reports, and we'll start with customer base with Amanda for the month of May.
Sorry, my printer went off. So you'll notice that I don't have 22, and that's only because we had a few customers that were installed on Friday late in the afternoon, and we did not on the 30th of May. So we didn't get them for billing to on the 1st. So that is the reason why I have a slight difference from what Dave has. But other than that, you can see there was some changes, mainly people moving. And one of them happened to be a move to a house that already had service. So there was really no change other than one dropped and one added, but they already had service. So it was kind of one of those situations. But they all were just people moving, not moving, selling their homes. So.
Thanks, Amanda. Any questions on customer base?
Good.
Who's the 1 2 gigabit commercial customer? Is that
Are you talking about the enhanced, the 250?
yeah.
Oh, that's the same one we've had since the very beginning. That's Knickerbocker.
That's Knickerbocker. That's what I thought. Okay. That's what I thought.
Cool. INHS did ask for a business customer reference. So I reached out to Knickerbocker, and their CFO was very happy to talk about the service. Their CFO also serves like on the board of the IE Ithaca Area Economic, whatever it's called now, IES.
Economic Development,
Yeah. So she was very familiar with the INHS project already and very happy to talk about us. All right. I don't think Andrew is here from Netegrity. I guess highlights over here. We added a little feature to this on the bottom of the screen. So there were 74 tickets in the month of May, 23 install orders up here in the upper right-hand corner, 21 user errors. There continued to be 21 other or unrelated calls. Now that is substantially dropped from when we changed our phone number, have our own phone number. That used to be like in the 40s and 50s. The other thing that we added to this is the ratio of tickets to customers. In January, it was 50%. So we had 150 tickets out of 294 customers. February, 32%, March, 40, April, 27%, and as of May, down to 18%. The goal behind this is to get to a steady state that says we should have some tickets, but ultimately it shouldn't be 1 ticket for every 2 customers. That's a lot of tickets generated. There's definitely some noise in this because of this unrelated 21 calls of people who are looking for other departments that get a hold of us. But ultimately, the better we can do on scheduling or customer support or just having a stronger network that doesn't have any outages, or people know how to reset things on their own, don't have to call us. People that can self-service their support through our website, through our support pages. All those things should reduce tickets. and make it so we don't have to spend a lot more on support than any other ISP or than we need to.
Dave,
Other
do we still have the old existing phone number set up so that people can call that and still get to the help desk?
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't called it in forever.
if you call the old one, it should still work. I mean, it's still the town of Dryden number.
But is there an option to get to the help desk? Amanda, do you know?
Cassie, do you remember if we left an extension on the town hall number to take you to the Dryden Fiber number?
Believe we did, but I would need to double check. I could call really quick and update you.
Cool.
Yeah, I almost think we left an extension, but it then just feeds you to the 7800 number.
Yes, I believe that's what we did.
Because we knew there was still documentation out there that had the 888 number, 8888 number on it.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That could be what, if that's what's happening, that could be what's generating those 21 unrelated
Yeah,
calls.
that's where I was going with that. But
Yeah, it should be zero, ultimately. This user error education, we should be tracking that too and seeing what kind of information we can be more proactive to send out to customers. Some of
Yeah.
those are prospects who are just asking for information about the network, about Dryden Fiber, and Integrity is taking the first response on replying to those. You know, it's not a huge issue right now. We're very thankful for what Integrity is providing to us for service, but ultimately, if we're not watching this, it could become a very expensive part of the project. All right, any questions on support?
Really quick, I just called, and yes, when you call regular town hall phone number, option 8 is for Dryden Fiber.
And then it routes over to the 7800 number
Yes.
tree.
Yes.
I don't know. They're pretty creative if they're coming to us with unrelated calls still.
Yeah, that would, because option 8 doesn't seem like they would get that far, right?
they waited a long time to get to option 8.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I can dive in with Integrity sometime in the next month or so and find out if we get any more detail what the topics of these 21 calls are.
Or are they spammers just calling them? You know, that
It could be, yeah.
that could easily be when
Mhm.
we get 2 or 3, even though we're on do not call and everything else. So.
Yeah.
Could happen too. Yeah.
Or
2
even
or 3 would be
salespeople.
good.
What was that, Amanda?
I was saying even like sales that people
Yeah, I
find.
mean, they could be inbound sales requests. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of sales, Tracy, you want to give us an update on sales ops?
Yeah, so as you can see, we have 34 signed agreements now. There's a total of 58 possible. Of those, 4 of them are property owners that have not signed because they don't like the agreement. 8
Okay.
agreements were sent, but nobody signed them and they haven't responded back to us yet. There are 9 tenants that have signed up, and I have reached out every time somebody signs up that's a tenant. I reach out to them to get the contact for the owner of the property so that we can pursue them. And there's 9 of those that have never responded once I've asked for it. Most of these, I keep trying. I'll send them an email once a month or whatever to find out where they are. If we had everybody in the group signed, there's a possibility of additional 400 units that we could get service to, at least 400. It's probably closer to 500. So there's a lot of possibility out there that we just haven't been able to get to yet. And I know that Brad is working on this because we've talked about it in our meetings on Wednesdays, and I know that they're moving in that direction. So I think we'll get there eventually.
And
There are, as you all know, there are multiple MDUs and mobile home parks that we've worked with, there's 250 units that we have people that they've agreed to be letting us in, but then we can't get there. And then just today, we got an email from somebody in Hillside Acres, which is the park that the owner said, no, you're not coming in here. So if the person, and I sent them an email back and said, that's what's going on, they may approach the owner and say, hey, we want to get the service. But on the other hand, we have not yet reached that particular park. So if somebody signs up, even in the town of Caroline, and they're a renter, I try to get the contact information from the owner so that we can be prepared in the event that we finally get there, so we aren't held up down the road. So it's a mixed bag of what's on that list.
And
Tracy,
Tracy,
Go ahead, Graham.
do you have any idea where we are with the law that was in the pipeline to fix this problem for us? So we could act like Spectrum
I
does?
think that it's it moved. It sounded like it was moving along. Dan Lamb reported to us that it sounded like it was moving along, but I haven't heard anything more about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, this might, I don't know if Kate, you're up to speed on this one. Right now, the cable companies enjoy a New York state law that allows them to install cable TV connections, including internet, to any rental property without landlord or property owner permission. As a municipal fiber company, we do not have that same right or privilege in current state law. That means that every time a tenant requests service, we have to reach out to the property owner. We have to send them an agreement that allows us to have the same access that a cable company has automatically from the state. They have to agree to that, sign off on it, get it back to us, and then we can go and do the install. We submitted through Assemblyperson Kellis's office a request to change the state law to allow for fiber optic broadband providers to have the same access to homes to do those installs. As Tracy mentioned, there's literally hundreds of rental properties where people want the service, but we are waiting on property owners to sign off.
The
There's also
interesting
hundreds
part
of
to me
units
is that
we have to come up with a plan of reach. But yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
there are multiple, as you can see, there are many people that just sign the agreement. They don't have any problem with it whatsoever. It's like, yeah, I'll sign this. Go ahead and get my tenant taken care of, please. And then we have the other ones that are like, got to take it to their lawyer. The lawyer looks at it and says, oh, you don't want to sign this. This is telling everybody that you can do whatever you want on their property. So sometimes they come back to me and I'm like, really? Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Any questions for Tracy on sales and outreach? I mean, it's a substantial number of the 1,800 houses we can reach that are rentals. 34 people have signed off. Those are not one-to-one. That doesn't mean 34. It's a minimum of 34 units. Some of these are multis. But there are still 24 that have sent out that have not signed, which represents quite a high number. That's without talking about MDUs where we have to do some engineering to figure out how we're going to provide the service, like in the Mott Road Mobile Home Park, Fall Creek, as well as some of the apartment buildings. So those are other things. We'll talk about those in construction too. Thanks, Tracy.
No problem.
Installs, talked about this a little bit already, 22 last month, 10 are already scheduled as of June 1st for this month. This is the inventory report. Any flags on here that we should think about, Tracy?
No, I think we updated it yesterday. As you can see, we have multiple of everything. We're in really good shape as far as the installation inventory.
We have 777 200-foot plus drop cables.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense. The Connex is completely full. Good. We should not run out
Yeah,
of those.
and quite a few of them are at Clarity. So we shouldn't run out for a while anyway. And we have now a pretty close connection between the ONUs and the Plume devices and the NIDs. And pending the whole situation with whether we continue with Sienna or not, we should be good going forward.
Perfect. Thanks.
Hey, Tracy, what's the little thing in brackets next to it? It says 384 and then it's got 6.
I believe that those are the ones that are, you know what? I don't know what they are. My son did that. I'd have to ask him, Graham. I can
Okay.
find out for you and let you know.
Cool.
I was gonna say, I think they're what's at Clarity, but I know that's not right because I know there's more than that for drop cables at Clarity,
Okay.
but I'll find out.
And are we seeing the prices of these things increase or not? Or we don't have a good idea?
Not yet. Not yet. They
okay.
have not, but we've been told that they're going to. But there was the big tariff thing that was going to happen, and it kind of got delayed. So who knows? It's a you don't know what's going to happen with that. So far, everything has held stable. On the other hand, we did reach out to Alex at Gravar because Amanda needed some information for being able to get insurance for our product or all our equipment. And he did say, what do you want this for? And we said, well, we need it so we know what have we spent for the equipment that we have. He said, well, okay, because going forward, these prices are not going to be any good to you. So I'm certain that we're going to see a price increase here in the not too distant future.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yes, no problem.
Marketing, I added this column on the right, 402, as you saw, plus 22. Inbound requests, we had 22 more. Of those, 17 were in the green zone. And that's kind of the highlights. I think the other one I put in the top slides, but in green, we had 22 customers when this table began, which was in September of 2023. We're at 44 a year ago on June 1st, and now we're at 402.
I think that this is a thing where people are looking at the map more than we realize. That's why you're seeing the number that are in the green zone when they sign up. They're looking at the map going, oh, they just turned on my area, so I'm signing up.
Yeah, I mean, if you look just back in like March, 65 people requested service, but only 33 were in the green zone, like half. In February, in January, when we reported in February, we had a huge month because we sent that notification out in the tax bills. 153 people signed up, but only 50 were in the green zone. So we're moving to a place where people are looking, seeing what's available, signing up when they can. A couple other marketing updates. Dairy Day is coming up next Saturday. The parade is 9:30 to 10:30. Lineup is at 8:30. I asked the operations team if any of them could be in the parade. We'll continue that conversation. Hopefully there'll be at least one other car besides mine. The festival is from 10:30 to 2. We're not planning on participating in the actual festival, having a booth or being there. I think the trail is going to have a table. We'll leave some materials there for them, but we don't have the staff right now to have people there all day for that. I'll be around for a little bit, but we're not going to have that fully staffed. This is a good visibility during the parade, and that's where we're at. If you want to be in the parade, line up, as it says, is at 8:30. We will get our location in the parade early next week. So I think on the 9th or 10th, we'll know where we are in the parade so we can line up appropriately. That's where we are. Is anyone here planning on being in the Dairy Day parade besides myself, Dan, and my 13-year-old daughter who wants to be in the parade?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome.
I'm not able to be there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be barbecuing chickens in the park, so
I won't be there, Dave.
It is the same day as the Ellis Hollow.
Yeah, that's in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's later. You're right.
Yeah. We're not planning on being at that Ellis Hollow event, mostly because we are nowhere near having any service in Ellis Hollow. And we were there, I think we were there for Ellis Hollow Fair in 23. And it was exciting, but that was 2 years ago, and we're still not any closer to providing service to that neighborhood. Next year, as it comes into the MIP is surrounding that area, I think we'll want to be marketing down there in person. I mentioned that part-time hiring a part-time person for door-to-door, and Kyle Jensen, we hired last fall to help out with marketing. We're going to increase. He spent almost no hours. He was doing some website work, and a little bit of work on email. We're going to increase that now that Mark is no longer going to be part of the project, who has been doing some work with our website. Kyle's going to be doing a bit more. So that'll happen starting later this month. The goal right now is make sure that everyone in the green zone knows we have service, either from door-to-door activity or digital and social. So we can try to increase the take rate in that 1,800 households from where we are today. I think that's it on marketing. Let's go to engineering. Brad, welcome. Has everyone met Brad yet? Brad's our guy. Yeah, he was here last. I was going to say he was here last month, but that was already 6 weeks ago. He was here April 22nd, 23rd, 24th or so to help out with just being here, boots on the ground, looking at what we have, visiting our physical plant, seeing some of the roads and some of the difficult areas, and then bringing all that information and their full team together to get us going. It's all yours, Brad.
Thanks, Dave. I'll be rather brief here. Feel free to stop me whenever and ask questions. From the poll application side, we kind of had Labella in a hold status for quite some time. Started taking applications off of hold. I think last month we had 10 remaining to be pulled off hold. And now all of those applications are off hold and in processing with Labella. And what that means is they're going through their approval process, which includes NICEAG design, telco reconciliation, whether that's with Frontier, Verizon, et cetera. So that's good news. We're expecting and have already received a couple this week of make-ready bids back on some of those applications. We're expecting another wave next week to get us to 12 make-ready bid packs back of the total 42 applications. We do have, go ahead, sorry.
Brad, does that include MIP ones in Caroline as well or not? I couldn't recall whether, I know we had a few Dryden ones that were still out there, but.
There's a couple that are Caroline that are coming in for make ready bid. Most are Dryden at this point.
No, I meant for the poll permits themselves. It includes the MIP ones now.
Yes.
As well,
yes,
right? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, great. Okay.
Yep. So additionally, there were, as we reviewed, kind of audited the existing poll applications, we discovered there are polls out there that we need to attach to that are not currently on applications. So we've got crew out there doing what we call IPE work. Ike is basically a sub-meter accurate GPS device that can do a quick pole survey, get us the data we need to submit the applications, essentially to Avangrid via Labella. We plan on submitting those remaining polls into applications before Good Spelling, Brad, July 11th. Any questions on polls? There's been some real good movement there in the last month.
That sounds really positive, Brad.
Construction, light speed, we did release a handful of areas to them to go finish the splice work. I believe, as you stated, Dave, there were 75 addresses that we have now put in the ready to install bucket. They had the fiber in front of them, they just needed the splicing. So ready for install via Clarity now. And on the Syracuse Utilities side, and Sean, feel free to jump in as you see fit as well if you're still on. We had released a cleanup or punch list, if you will, to them. There were some issues with that, certainly. So we've got some planned coordination with them next week to get that resolved, as well as Syracuse is working on Hilton Road next week, as well as, Tony, you're going to be happy to hear this, Hanford Road, and getting those areas buttoned up. In terms of full speed ahead construction, though, we're a ways away from that. I would say, we've been releasing light speed in Syracuse to some of these locations that were, Hanford Road, Tony, is a good example, which there's nothing beyond that if we install fiber per se, that we would be hamstringing ourselves if we installed fiber that was undersized. So those are the types of areas that we've had light speed in Syracuse tackling. Any questions on construction? Go ahead, Tony.
Is that the major reason for not releasing construction further, is that there are areas that we think we have undersized fiber?
It's a combination of that, Tony, as well as just poll application status. We need to get those poll apps through approval and eventually make ready, get the polls licensed, and then we can attach.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know if you can answer this, but how widespread is this undersizing issue?
I don't see it being a huge challenge.
Okay.
Because there's going to be certainly some areas, and we've already identified one this week, right, Dave, that we're going to have to get a little bit creative on how we service those areas. A lot of, the areas specifically up towards the northwest part of Dryden, where, Syracuse already has some strand, potentially even some fiber in place. I don't see a lot of perhaps undersizing there. There might be some. But again, that's just going to take some creativity to hopefully get that resolved. What we're trying to avoid is going back and overlashing long spans of fiber.
I hear you. Yeah, I get that, and I think you're right. I think it's better to wait than to put in something that's going to have to be redone. No question.
Yeah.
Do we have some idea when we're going to start up on like Upper Creek Road and Etna Road and Wood Road around Etna?
So that's a great question. We kind of sat back down this week. Obviously there's a lot been going on trying to get the poll applications reconciled and back off the ground, submitted, submit the additional ones. Trying to understand how those are going to flow through approval process, et cetera, when those specific areas are going to break loose. I will say, in the last month, it really went from Vantage Point, just kind of working with Labella and really trying to get as much data out of them as we could so we could reconcile stuff, to now we are in a position where we're directing them and being able to say, prioritize these apps versus these ones. So the picture is becoming more clear, Graham, but I don't think, Graham, we're not quite there yet. I will say, I've got the bullet on here. the approach to Dryden is changing slightly, in the sense that previously we were kind of looking at it large scale in various pops, whether it was the Pinckney Road pop, Yellow Barn Road pop, Freeville pop, etc. We've broke those down even further into chunks. Reviewed that briefly with Dave this week, at least the approach. He doesn't really have the full picture yet of what that's going to look like from a timeline perspective. We're still working through that here at Vantage Point. But what I think that's going to offer Dave and this committee is the granularity. You all need to be able to say, hey, you're in, I'll make it up, sub chunk one in the northwest corner of Dryden, and you are estimated 6 weeks from seeing bucket trucks and another 4 weeks after that from being able to request install. You know, that level of granularity is what we're looking for. With everything that's been going on, candidly, we've just not been able to give that to Dave to date, but I think we're getting very close.
So you think in a couple weeks we'll be there, Brad, or?
I think so. We've got some of our GIS folks right now. Like I said, we kind of reviewed the new approach with Dave. I think it's going to be a lot more functional. What they're doing now is each of those boundaries that we've drawn correlates to individual 1x32 ponds or splitter areas. They're reconciling that against those ponds, Graham, so it makes a little bit more logical sense on how things are getting fed, just logistically.
Yep.
And then from there, we're going to be able to sit down with Dave, prioritize each one of those. You know, I think we established 13 build areas.
The meeting, comma. Oop, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, Sean. I believe we broke it down into 13 individual areas is the goal. Each area is going to have its own unique timeline. We're going to be able to track polls within that. We broke it out both geographically and kind of by groupings of poll applications. So yes, Graham, we're getting very close to that level of granularity in which you guys can more effectively communicate with the constituents of Dryden and Caroline.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Dave, are there any other areas besides the ones we talked about, you know, things like Bear Circle and Hilton and Hanford and those where postcards were sent out saying, you know, you can expect construction to start within 2 weeks or within a couple weeks? Are there any other areas that got postcards that haven't had work done?
I don't think so. It's been quite a while, so I don't think so.
Okay, good. Good.
Possibly north and west of the village of Freeville, but it's been such a long time.
Okay, I was just curious because I mean that's part of the issue, right? Is, you know, there were some communications that were put out, there was things put on the map and other things, and we're just way behind on a lot of that, which is all reasonable. I understand why we're where we are, but it's just, you know, people look at that and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, they probably ask me on average once per day, every single day for the last 6 months. As Brad was talking, I'm thinking like this wasn't like we were on a train going down the tracks and we just changed conductors. This is like we're on an aircraft carrier and we changed the aircraft carrier direction. It takes a lot to stop the momentum of the direction we're going in, figure out where we're trying to go, and shift everything in that new direction. That's eaten up 100+ days of the calendar. It wasn't just like, hey, the conductor is not going the right speed. It's like we're on the right tracks. So it's also been a little foggy, so we weren't able to see all of what was happening to make these changes. Based on what you see here on this slide and what we've been doing every day for the last 100 days, we're going closer to the right direction and the right speed. But it's just taking a lot more than probably we would have guessed back in March 1st.
But it's getting better engineered, like it sounds like. So
Brad mentioned state reporting. Not only are we trying to continue things going on with construction in Dryden and everything else, but New York State has been, they're not on this call. This is a record, it's a public meeting. It's been a burden. They ask a lot of questions. We give them answers. They ask the same questions the next week. We give them the same answers. They ask the same questions the next week. We give the same answers. It slows us down. Like they want things to be one way, and we're trying to meet them where they are, but it definitely is a drag on the speed. Now, in exchange, you're going to give us somewhere between $9 and $11.5 million. So we're playing, but it's definitely adds to the speed, adds to the complexity that slows things down.
And we're the only one or the only one of two that's anywhere near this sort of detail that they're getting, I suspect. So connect all office and stuff.
I mean, I think there's like somewhere around 15 projects. I just heard from the head of Southern Tier Networks. They got their first reimbursement payment a couple days ago. It took them, I think, 4 months of back and forth to get the reimbursement submitted, cleared through, audited, everything. I think there might only be 2 or 3 others that already have their GDAs signed. Most of them do not have, most of the other projects don't have their GDAs signed yet. So we're like in the middle of the pack of where we are. We're not far ahead, we're not far behind. We're definitely further ahead on providing service to customers with this grant than others. But we're not like way ahead or way behind. Go ahead, Kate.
I was wondering if I missed the Caroline Field review. Did we
Anything
guys
about that, Brad?
talk
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, so our staff has also been in the field reviewing the Caroline routes, etc. Our CAD team actually has released 11 miles worth of design for final QC in the field. The approach in Caroline is going to be a little bit different than Dryden, just because it is more greenfield rather than trying to, you know, having to be creative in areas. You know, we really get to do it our way in Caroline, if you will. So there's going to be 2 large areas that go out to bid in Caroline where we're really kind of having to muscle through specific areas in Dryden, if you will. But yeah, that's a really good sign. Is, like I said, 11 miles of the 90 has been final QC'd. Our gentleman final QC'd that Monday and Tuesday of this week. And so we're just going to keep feeding him more miles, both in Dryden and Caroline, for a final design that ultimately gets placed into what we call construction sheets and released to a contractor via either bid or, you know, continuing to work with Syracuse.
So there was some question Mark had about the pop out in Speedsville and the location of that. Are you guys working on that?
That's on my next slide.
Oh, okay. Sorry, getting ahead of you.
Up there, Dave, if you want. I think we covered everything. So this one's a little bit redundant. The first bullet, we already kind of talked about the new plan for Dryden and the Caroline update. The other thing I wanted to discuss on this call is, you know, kind of what Dave and I have been referring to as the low-hanging fruit items. And what those are is really kind of the anomalies that are in yellow in little islands in Dryden. So the approach we're taking there is we've had some staff take a look at those in the field, just from the physical aspect of how we're going to get this done. That's come back to the office. Our office staff has created design sheets or construction sheets that our resident, Chris Damaris, will ultimately be final designing in the field. We're going to leverage Tracy and his knowledge and contacts, as well as Eric at Clarity, and they're going to get together and design those and plan how we're going to, you know, resolve those one-offs that we just can't reach this point for one reason or another. The last thing I've got, the Caroline Huts, the town hall site. Just give me 1 second here. I had some more notes on both of these. So at the town hall site, we've gathered bids for, you know, precast shelters, much like Dryden has. For its main CO, we've looked at 12 by 20 shelters, We've also gotten some quotes on 9x16 going just a little bit smaller. We also have drafted the site prep guides for completing the civil work that's needed at those sites. And a lot of what that civil work is just grading, concrete, proper grounding at the facility, etc. So a lot of good movement there as well. We've got drafted floor plans. And like I said, this site layout itself is currently in progress. And whether we go with the 12x20 or the 9x16, we can finalize those up. I've got one of my team members, Braden is his name, working on that. He's been working closely with Mark as well as Dave on exactly how we're going to build those sites. Speedsville specifically, we're going to use a cabinet there instead of a full hut. We've also drafted site prep guides, 2 sample layouts, one with a propane tank generator and one with battery backup only. We're also exploring some alternative sites versus just the firehouse because we're very limited on room at the fire station. I believe there's only like 6 feet between the edge of their building and the property line. So unless we can get an easement and encroach in, the gentleman to the east yard, we're going to have to find an alternate site. So that's kind of where we're at, pulling together cost estimates for both sites. The last thing I'd say is we are working with Mark and essentially the Caroline Highway Department on doing the civil work for some cost saving measures. So that's in queue as well.
Wow, thanks, Brad. Go for it.
So as for equipment that's going to go into these things, are we sticking with the same sort of switch setups that we've had in Dryden, or do we think we're going to move vendors there, or do we not know yet? So
good.
So in terms,
do you want to go, Brad?
Yeah, I was just going to say we're still analyzing in terms of the access equipment, whether it's going to be Sienna or Calyx. In terms of the route switchgear, that will be the same.
Okay.
Cool.
Ed, just a quick question. Have you guys worked with some kind of a unit? We talked about this a number of times that would allow us to, in an apartment complex, put in one device that would allow us to then split that device to give everybody in that particular facility access to the fiber?
Yep. Yes, we have. Yeah, they
Okay.
also have devices out there, and Dave, we chatted about this Wednesday on our call. I don't know, the week's gone by fast. There's a product out
That's
there
the truth.
called a product out there, brand name Harmonic. Kind of similar to what you're talking about, Tracy, but effectively what that device does is it does an optical to RF conversion so that you can use legacy coax too in apartments. Obviously that's not ideal because like Dave said, you're sacrificing some upload speed, but to your question, Tracy, yes, those types of devices exist for, either an optical to Ethernet conversion or optical to optical throughout the building.
Gotcha. Very good. Thank you.
Now for the IHS one, are we looking at doing optical to optical then?
I think we
It's-
recommended optical to optical.
Yeah.
We also said optical to Cat 6 or greater.
Yeah.
And then the third least favorite would be optical to coax. But we're going to pay for delivering service to the utility rooms for all 3 buildings. They are going to pay for the labor and parts to get from the utility rooms to the units.
Mhm.
So to some degree, how they decide to wire to the units will then decide what we put in the utility rooms. Yeah. All right. Amanda, financials. I think we're almost done.
So this is pretty basic. Not a lot of expenses, mainly because of just still working through the restart. But again, our customer subscription totals was 22,518. Operations was a little higher because we're now on Windstream, Cogent, and First Light. First Light hasn't changed their price yet. That usually takes a month. So we should see that go down as long as we don't have any additional expenses in this month for operations expenses. We are been working really hard about keeping our accounts receivable, keeping track of customers that haven't paid. Once they are at a month, we follow them up. At 2 months, and we really start to follow them up. And also we have had to shut people off, but that usually means they contact us to restart again. About payments, we're trying to say, well, we need a plan. How are you going to catch up? It's been a process, but most people are very responsive about paying their bills. So that is the major high level part at this point.
Any questions for Amanda? I think there's a chart too.
Yes, you should have a chart as the next one.
Yep.
So this is just showing the operations income and the operations expenses. Reminder, this does not include the installation costs. We still have that in the capital portion, separated out, but not included in this chart itself. So we did take an uptick in our expenses this month.
And do we know why that uptick? Is it because of the number we had to buy and others?
Yes, it's because
Doing
the
more.
First
We
Light
have-
has not changed their billing yet.
Oh.
That is the major reason. So I'm hoping to see this month. We haven't seen the First Light bill yet. I'm sure we will in the next day or so if we haven't, to see that it's come back down to the new contracted price.
Amanda, just an update on that. I did receive it today and it is down to
Okay,
the new
good.
contracted price.
Yeah, it's about $3,000 cheaper
Yes.
per month. Yeah. HR? Do we? Oh, we haven't covered these. Cover these two.
As Dave mentioned, we have hired a new individual who's starting on Monday. Had great interviews, but this one stood out. So he will be joining the team. You will meet him on the meeting on the 20th. As Dave mentioned, we have a part-time marketing position. I have to follow up with I followed up with civil service to say, hey, they made some edits to what we had. We agreed with their edits, and now it's just they have to do the final blessing that the civil service does on job descriptions so that then we can post for this position so we can get that filled. Insurance, we are or did some work at the end of May to really get all our information. The main piece is, as Tracy mentioned, is just inventory values. I went back 12 months of gray bar statements and still was missing items. So it's probably items we bought in the past. And we decided it might be faster if we just ask Gray Bar to say, send us a price list so we can get those. And mainly just so we have the insurance has a proper number to quote for our inventory. So we do have 2 provincial providers hoping to have quotes that statement didn't get finished in the next couple of weeks. I sent them a lot of information this past week and I'm hoping to hear back from them. So that continues. There's been a lot of just gathering historical data because we didn't have to gather it before. And so now we have to get it. But obviously every year when renewal happens will be, well, what did we add this year? And then hopefully it won't be as cumbersome and updating the inventory, obviously.
Thank you, Amanda. Any questions on HR, admin, or insurance items? We're going to talk about this update on legal and our outage calculations when we get together in 2 weeks. More of a discussion in the monthly report. And that's it. All right, we're just 2 minutes over our 75-minute plan for the call. Any last minute questions while we're all here together? Okay, upcoming, we have an operations meeting every other week. We did meet this week, so the next one will be on June 18th. That one is every other week. Sometimes it's the same week as this, sometimes it's not. So that's coming up on April 18th. On the 19th is the town board meeting. And on the 20th will be our second meeting of the month, where we go over policy and other questions and things. And hopefully have some information on the state.
Yeah, Dave, just to let you know that the text on the current road list on the map is at March 18th. So
Yeah, I'm waiting on
whenever
the
you
last
can-
two parcels to be
yeah,
updated.
yeah,
before I
so
make that
yeah,
date.
so
Yeah. Soon, maybe even today or
Yeah.
Monday.
Hopefully, very soon, we'll be on Hanford Road.
He wasn't asking about that.
Yeah.
No. I think about you all the time, Tony.
Well, I have the nice handhold in my front lawn, you know.
Yeah, every time we turn something green, I think, I wonder if Tony saw that.
Nice if there was something in the handhold, but yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
everybody enjoy the
Thanks.
weekend. It's only gonna rain a little.
Yeah.
Get another weekend.